I believe that since the beginning of time, man's greatest strength and or weakness has been in direct proportion to his relationship with the coot nanny. That's right, folks. Your relationship to the box or your relationship to the kitty cat, the cookie, is going to be the determining factor of whether or not you as a man are strong, you are grounded, and therefore you are truly successful in this life in whatever dimension, paradigm, whatever aspect of life that may be, or you are a weakened man. You are a compromised man. You're a man who may build something of substance and value, but are sooner to lose everything because you cannot control your own sexual urges. It all comes down to that. Now, mind you, I'm not speaking of our relationship towards women. However, our relationship towards women is also deeply compromised when we cannot control, we cannot have dominion over the little head. So that being said, I want to get into this video where a homegirl breaks this down to a T. And it's not often that I hear advice coming from these so-called female dating coaches towards men that doesn't have some sort of implicit bias or, even some sort of agenda, but instead it's just the straight facts, right? It's like when men are giving advice to women, half the time it's pandering. They're just trying to get, basically they're trying to find another way to the box, right? It's like their own version of game. I see that happening also vice versa when it comes to women, speaking to men. There might be an agenda of, this is what real men do in order to essentially have men comply and be easier to control. But that being said, let's get into this video and I'm going to break this down to a molecular level, but she's going to do a whole ass job in and of herself. Let's get into it.
Are becoming so weak because they idolize sex, they put sex on a pedestal, and the quick men are becoming so weak because they idolize sex, they put sex on a pedestal, and the quickest and easiest way to weaken a man is sex. And it's the dumbest thing on the planet to invest in women who don't care about you. And all of these OnlyFans girls, all of these porn sites, all these webcam girls, they're there to manipulate you. So the reason why men have lost all their masculinity is that they put looks and appearance on a pedestal. And if a woman looks like a woman that he likes, he will drop all of his boundaries and standards just to get her attention, and she manipulates you. And if you're
I have seen that time and time and time again. As soon as that one chick with that one look, that phenotype, as they now say, he is willing to crash out, to lose every damn thing in his life. I mean, just look at the story of a brother by the name of Shannon Sharp. He is willing to lose everything, just to get that snow bunny box. It is.
Who can get manipulated by a pretty girl. You are the weakest man in the world. You're the weakest. Whereas if you're a man who can stand strong with a beautiful girl, you're the strongest. So I think because men are becoming so weak to beauty and so saturated by sex and stuff, that's why we've got no masculinity left.
So, some are going to hear that and think to themselves, well, no, that's not what it is. It's because we live in a gynocracy, or we live in a matriarchy. It's because men are being feminized, etc. And sure, there's a little bit of truth in damn near most things. However, we cannot take away the personal responsibility aspect of this conversation. Brothers like to talk about how we are leaders. We're supposed to be leaders in the household, etc. Leadership begins with you. Right? And leadership at its core is about taking responsibility. Simple as that, whether anybody else is or not. If you're the leader on a team, let's say you're that quarterback, you're that leader, you're the captain of that team, whatever it may be, you are going to take accountability. When you throw an interception, you did it. It don't matter how your lineman showed up. It don't matter what the receiver may have done, etc. You're going to take ownership of that. And that's not easy for most. That's why I believe not everybody is yet ready to be a leader. You must be a perfect follower to become that leader, right? You must become somebody who is willing to humble yourself, and you don't need all the credit in the world. And you're able to sweep the floor as opposed to just being in the boardroom and being a big somebody. So, to bring back that analogy is you're on that team, you're running plays, somebody else messes up, guess what? It's on you. That's why I'll forever have more respect for Jordan than I do LeBron, because Jordan would take ownership. LeBron liked to point fingers. I'm just saying. So if you're the type of individual who is always going to point to the women, it's not going to do you any good. I'm not saying that they don't have their own ownership to take, that there is not this, this feminist agenda that is being pushed and is quite successful, unfortunately. But it's to say that you must become the man who is worthy of following. You must become somebody who is trustworthy enough. And if you're given over to your lust, you become compromised as a leader. If you want to look at historical biblical context, we can use guys like Samson to Solomon. It was always about their relationship with the box, not women. It wasn't about their marriage, but instead their inability to be disciplined. David, who is Solomon's father, right? The sins of the father may very well become the sins of the son. You had that man right there who was given over to the Lord, loved God with all his heart, allegedly. And he goes ahead, sees a woman bathing from basically his balcony. He calls her over, sleeps with her, has her husband sent back from war. He basically forces the dude to sleep with his wife because he wants it to seem like he didn't get her pregnant, but instead the husband did. And so that doesn't work out because the guy's too loyal to David and says, I will not go lay down with my wife. I am committed to to the war right now. David's like, well, damn, okay, I'm going to have to get you murked. And he sends this dude to the front lines. It's a savage ass story. That is a trifling, savage, brutal story. Some don't like to admit that, but it's probably why he wrote the entirety of Psalms, praying to God for forgiveness. Lord, I have sinned against a holy God. Yeah. So anyway, that fall was because he could not control. His lust was more dominating than his principle, than his value, right? In juxtaposition to somebody like Joseph, who he was head of this man's house. He was head of, the governor of Egypt's home. And the governor's wife wanted to lay up with him. She wanted some pool boy activity, and he wasn't willing to go there. He had too much dignity. And he ends up literally, he ends up in prison, etc., but his destiny was connected to it. However, he stood on his principle. He stood on his value. And when you have character and you have integrity, even if people accuse you of things you're not, even if the whole world may turn against you, even if you're the only one left with character, when it's all said and done, at the other end, you're going to find yourself in the best place possible. My pops built a business in a place like Zimbabwe where there's so much corruption in the government, etc. And he was a man who was uncompromised. He never took bribes. He never allowed, for certain government officials who wanted a little kickback or whatever. He didn't play into all of that. And sure, his business might have grown more slower than the others around him. Sure, there might have been more difficulties that he had to endure. But when it's all said and done, 30 years later, he is still standing and all of them have fallen. You get what I'm saying? So when it comes to your inability, as she said, to control that impulse, and more specifically, your constant need for female validation. Let's get down to it, fellas. That's what this is really about. You want to be validated because you have learned to pedestalize the box. That's what you do. You worship it. That's why you goon. That's why you scroll all day on them nasty, dirty videos. Because you have pedestalized, you have seen it as something of absolute significance. It is part of your value system. You value the coot nanny more than you value your own time, energy, and attention, more than you value the true relationship you could have. First of all, within, and therefore without, the one that you could have with a committed person. I believe most of us want that committed relationship. We want the union. We want the marriage. We want to be with somebody who we can be with and trust and connect with for a lifetime. There are a few who genuinely are for the streets. And I believe a lot of that still comes from trauma, etc., that is undealt with and unresolved. But most of us have that desire. Otherwise, we really wouldn't be out there dating, etc. You would just be laying up like a dog. You'd be like a street cat, an alley cat, a tomcat, right? Just basically knocking everything down, and that's all there is to it, and there's nothing else about it. But instead, there's this constant yearning in both men and women that we have this deeper desire. We could lie to ourselves till we're blue in the face, but that's the God honest truth. And when you're given over to your lust, you might get that, but you will sabotage it. You will. I continue to bring up the story of Shannon Sharpe right now because it's fresh and it's relevant and there's so much to take away from it. But here's a 56-year-old man, never settled down, continuously was playing the game in essence. And now the game has caught up with him. And the game was really his own, perversion, his inability to control his lust, his inability to essentially regulate himself and to change his habits. This is a man for the last 40 years, whatever it may be, right? Maybe since he was 16 years old, has been getting one off, has been cracking some, has been hitting it, has been clapping cheeks. Like that's likely been his entire 40-year experience or 30-year experience or whatever it may be. And so his habits, his patterns, his characteristic, all is wrapped up in that. He is addicted. He is a fiend. And this ain't just about that brother right there. He's getting picked on as easy target. But it's about us. It's about you. It's about me. We continue to give ourselves over in that way, we will continue to get those results. Weakness, you will be controlled. I saw a video recently of a brother who was talking about how he just can't help himself around his phenotype, around his type. When he finds a woman that's quote unquote his type, he just can't help himself. He will give up he'll give up money he doesn't have, time he doesn't have. You know what I mean? He'll be missing the job, whatever it is. He said, if she's light skinned, curly hair, and a big booty, he's done for. He's finished. Think about that. You're being sold an image of what you should desire, and then you're told to constantly chase that thing and to be a slave to that thing. And then you find yourself in bondage and wonder what the hell happened. Most of the problems in your life as a young man, older man, middle-aged man, whatever it is, could be fixed if you just fix this one thing. That's why they say a lot of men find their success after the age of 50, etc., is because at that point they finally got that aspect of them regulated. One of the things I'm most thankful for in this life is that I did have, unfortunately, that realization that this was empty. I'm not going to sit here and lie to y'all like I wasn't a dude who was running around doing what he was doing. I believe that female validation meant something. I believe that chasing tail and getting tail, that laying up with as many chicks. Like, I believe that was the way. I believe that was the way. I believe that was a way to manhood, only to realize that it was compromising my manhood, that it was stripping away my true masculinity. And yes, sometimes, you don't want to hear it coming from a woman. What does she know? Who is she? You want to call her all sorts of names. You don't know nothing about her. But she's telling you facts. A broken clock is right how many times a day? She's telling it how it is. So I'm going to let her hit that point one more time.
Men are becoming so weak because they idolize sex. They put sex on a pedestal. And the quickest and easiest way to weaken a man is sex. And it's the dumbest thing on the planet to invest in women who don't care about you. And all of these OnlyFans girls, all of these porn sites, all these webcam girls, they're there to manipulate you. So the reason...
And I want to add girls in the club, the chicks that you're chasing tail, and you're really getting it on them dating apps, swiping your life away. You're not getting anything from that. I mean, you'll likely catch something, but are you getting something for it? No. You've been bamboozled. You've been fooled. You've been wasting your time. I remember how much time we used to waste as young boys. Like how much time we used to waste chasing. And then finally, you crack all of a sudden. Oh man, I'm the dude for what? For maybe 30 minutes. You get to talk to your homeboys. Man, you won't believe it. Oh, I knocked that down. You see that? Right? Oh, for what? For what? That's all you got out that experience. You hit some, you tapped it, okay, fantastic. What did you get out of it? Momentary pleasure. You done wasted weeks. Some dudes will waste months. They chasing everything. They're trying to spin these plates. They're trying to get a new plate going. But there's a reason why I'm always going to beat you in anything we do. There's a reason why I'm always going to run circles around you. And you can't stop this. The most successful men in the world are married for a reason. The most, on average, are married for a reason. There's a level of discipline. There's a level of structure there. Well, they be cheating on their women. They be doing this. They be doing that. All I know is that they're married. All them other things is your own assumption. Of course, there's going to be dudes who, are trifling, etc. But the more stable you are in your household, the more stable you are within your secret life, you are within your personal life, is what's going to show out in public. It's really that simple. Your character, who you are when nobody's watching, is eventually going to be reflective in your reputation, how people perceive you. That's why for me, I'm okay saying what I say in front of camera because this is what I say all day behind. You get what you see. It is what it is. So yeah, fellas, she's preaching to y'all. She's really trying to help y'all. And if y'all listen to this message, this would have more impact on your life per capita than probably any other decision that you make. Second most important decision behind, locking down to find what it is that you're here to give the world in terms of value and to master that, to hone it in and to monetize it. Second to the woman that you decide to become bonded to in holy matrimony. This right here is going to be the most valuable and important thing that you do.
And why men have lost all their masculinity is that they put looks and appearance on a pedestal. And if a woman looks like a woman that he likes, he will drop all of his boundaries and standards just to get her attention, and she manipulates you. And if you're a man who can get manipulated by a pretty girl, you are the weakest man in the world. You're the weakest. Whereas if you're a man who can stand strong with a beautiful girl, you're the strongest. So I think because men are becoming so weak to beauty and so saturated by sex and stuff, that's why
Fellas, empires have fallen. Great men have fallen from grace, all because they could not control their relationship with the box. I'm talking about juggernauts. You understand? Leaders of empires let it all go to waste because of some box. You got to start valuing yourself. And I'm not even decentralized women. No, we don't play that. It's not the feminist games over here. No. There is value in the woman in your life and then the women in your life, right? There's value in obviously all humans, but the woman in your life is going to take precedence over any other woman in your life. And a lot of brothers, she's doing this and she's showing up that way. She's showing up. First of all, why are you in a relationship? How did you get in that relationship? What was the context? What was the reasoning? Did you get in that relationship because you saw a big old thing on the back or two big old things in the front? Because you saw a cute face? Because you saw some stripped down clothes? I saw a video this morning. This brother was preaching. I should probably do a video about this, but he was talking about how, you go to a club or whatever it is and you see this chick half dressed and you want to change her into something else instead of going to the woman who's already that. What is your damn problem? Are you slow? There's a woman who's already that, but you don't want that. You go after because you can't control that impulse, because you're given over to it. You're addicted. You're a fiend. You're possessed by your possessions. And enough is enough. I said to myself at 21, 22 years old, enough is enough. I'm done with this. I don't want this controlling my life. I don't want this controlling my relationship dynamics, the way I see things, the way I see myself, etc. And it changed my life for the absolute best. And now I'm at a place in my life. I got so much momentum. I got so much confidence. I believe in myself so much. I know who I am to the point where I have a beautiful woman in my life. She is incredible. And I want to spend the rest of my life with her. But if anything were to happen, cool. Because some of y'all will stay with somebody who does you dirty and does you trifling because you don't have enough self-respect. You think, this was the best I'm going to get. She can treat you like trash. She can cuss you up and down, treat you like a nobody, cheat on you time and time again, and you won't leave because you have no self-respect. No self-respect. You got to cut this addiction up out of your life. It is being used. This is the psyop. This is the psychological operation. This is psychological warfare. And if you don't do something about it, nobody else will. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. Now, if you'd like to stay around, make sure to click that little subscribe button down there. Or you can show some love by going to the description below and clicking on the button titled Buy Me a Coffee. Leave a little something there, or click on the Cash App. Leave a little something here. Till the next time, peace.
I fell in love with the sunshine. I fell in love with the light. I fell in love with the full moon. I fell in love with the night. I can see the light again. I can see the light. You can see the life in him illuminate the night. I know the time is taking. A 3, 6, 5, that's a full rotation. I see you looking up, you know them constellations. Constantly gazing like house of praises, you get to praising.